Hello Gemini, welcome to Angel Wise Love Tarot. I'm doing your April reading. What we're doing this month is looking at the Mercury retrograde coming up. I've developed an oracle deck that will help you figure out which areas of your life you may need to reflect on or retweak or revisit in some way. So we'll look at the keywords coming out and then we'll clarify that with the tarot, and that should help you maximize the Mercury retro season. If there are any slowdowns or hiccups, that, rather than getting frustrated, you can use the time practically and perhaps even, start to understand why any potential hitches are happening. So what do we have for Gemini, please? Gemini. We have relive. We have recuperate. And we have relate. Okay. So can we please clarify relive for Gemini? Relive for. Okay. Relive for Gemini. Recuperate for Gemini. And relate for Gemini. Okay. So for relive, we have the Magician. So the Magician is major arcana. If you don't count the Fool, because he's 0 and can effectively appear at any point along the major arcana journey, the Magician is the first one, and you can see he has cup, pentacle, sword and wand. He has everything he needs to achieve. He's manifesting as well, and sometimes people see these as a little bit negative, like somebody pulling the wool over your eyes, but I really don't. I feel like this is really positive. I think it's exciting. I think what a wonderful, if somebody said to you, you're a magician, you can make anything you want happen. I mean, obviously not anything sort of bad, but we think, you really are the creator of your own life. You can really make it wonderful and special, and you can do things for the people you care about, and you can make a difference in the world and all these things. Wouldn't you want that? And I feel like this is quite an exciting card to come out. The fact you've got relive as well is kind of revisiting something. It could be, if you relate it to the Magician, reliving a time in your life when things were going really well. Sometimes we go through things and it feels like no matter what we do, we can't make a difference. It's like everything seems to be there just seems to be obstacles all over the place, and you think you're following all the advice, and this is sort of getting a job or something like that. You kind of do all the things that are being suggested, or you upskill, you do all these things, and there was a time in your life where it wasn't so difficult, and it may be that you need to think about that. What kind of mindset were you in? Sometimes as life goes on, and you've experienced more ups and downs, and you sort of you know what the downs are like, and it can make you fearful of them coming again. And if you're in them again, I think you can start to be a little bit beaten down. And it could be that you sometimes think, oh, well, when I was younger, it was so much easier, or when I was in this situation, it was so much easier. I didn't, it felt like everything came to me, everything flowed. And there's probably some truth in that, but that can happen again. Don't think that's only happened once in your life because a certain thing was in place, or anything like that. I think if you recognize the fact that life is full of ups and downs and cycles and 2 steps forward, 1 step back, even though sometimes it feels like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but I think often, even if you feel like you're repeating the same patterns, it's not normally exactly the same, because generally you will have learned something and you will be edging forward a little bit more, and there's certain things that you think, oh my goodness, I find myself here again where I'm really struggling financially, or I'm in a bad relationship again and things, but there will be something that it won't be like it was the last time. It could be that you think, well, no, do you know what? I've actually learned this about myself, and I won't accept this, and I will finish this relationship before it gets any worse, or I will you know, I recognise the fact that, oh my goodness, I've repeated some patterns and found myself in a sticky financial situation. But I realise I never did this. This is what I learned from the last time. I didn't sort of take out a massive loan and struggle to, but you know, I'm at zero, but I'm not minus. Something like that. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be anything that big, although the fact that you've got the magician, I mean, I'm thinking you're actually in quite a powerful position, or have been, and in which case you can do it again. If you relive that, it's like, what, you know, it's kind of not necessarily where you were and these external things, like, oh, well, I was living at home and things were easier because I didn't have to worry about so much, I didn't have to pay for everything, and I had my parents' support, or my whoever, you know, whatever your family dynamic was. But it could also be, but how did you feel though? Is it because you felt safe? Is it because you felt comfort? Is it because you felt like you didn't have the weight of the world on your shoulders? Can you recreate that sense? It's like, can you find that security within yourself? Because really, although it may have been provided for you by loving family, by shelter, by, you know, money, if you're fortunate enough to have that, it does all come within you. It's that's all external stuff. So if you can get to that point where you think, well, do you know what? I trust myself. I trust the universe. I trust, you know, it's not great, but sometimes that happens. But, you know, it could be worse, and it's not. And I'm going to let myself feel like, you know, look at where things have gone right and wonderfully, and you felt like you didn't even try, but actually you were attracting positive opportunities because maybe you weren't delving so deep, because life was simple. If you can sort of try and bring some of that mindset back. And let's look at recuperate. So we have the Page of Wands here. So this could be, you know, relating to something, a sort of passion project, or it could be something, you know, some creativity, some sort of spark of creativity coming in. It's like, you know, the spark of an idea, and sometimes it's not at the action stage yet, but it's sort of at the conception stage here. But it could be really good, and it could even be what's being manifested here. And perhaps you need to take some time to recuperate. Perhaps your life is very busy and full. I think a lot of people's are, and I think we don't always take the time we need. We don't feel we can opt out. But if you can find some sort of space to have a bit of recuperation, I think sometimes you don't even feel you need it. I mean, I think, or don't recognise the fact that you need it. I think, you know, when we get ill, a lot of the time we're just thinking about the things we can't do because we're ill, so we're raring to get back. So we never have any breathing space. It's either a bit of downtime if you've got to that point where your body says, okay, I'm that ill, I can't do a thing. And then you have to slow down, but it's not necessarily recuperation. If you're sort of getting over the illness, you don't, I feel, have that time where you're gone from kind of foggy, oh my goodness, I just feel terrible. I think as soon as you sort of feel like you're up and about and getting dressed, you're back at work, or back throwing yourself into your responsibilities or whatever they are. And I don't think you have that recuperation time, and I think it's good to try and find some of that. And probably for all of us, the more we can find a few minutes in a day, it's almost like before you get ill, you know, just some breathing space, just some head space, just some mind space, just some, you know, just something where you can put your shoulders back and get rid of whatever's bogging you down. You know, it might get to the point where you know you don't actually get so ill that you're knocked off your feet. Sometimes that's forced upon us because we're not taking the breaks or looking after ourselves in the way we should. And I don't think anyone thinks they're invincible, but the way we behave sometimes, it's almost as if we are, and it's kind of, no, you know, we're human beings, we need those basic things, that rest, that time, that, you know, stress is probably one of the worst things for you. So let's look at what we have in terms of relate. Okay, so this is the Ten of Wands. So this is the end of a cycle. So in the deck, the Ten of Wands would come before the Page of Wands. If you're going, I don't know if you could call it, I suppose you could call it chronologically, but anyway, just in the number order. But But actually, you know, the whole thing about Mercury retrograde is that things don't happen chronologically. You do circle back. It's just, you know, you don't go on an upward trajectory. You've got ups and downs and roundabouts. And I think, you know, this relate, and it could be, maybe looking at how you relate to something or someone, or it could be almost anything. I think, again, this is sort of, you know, is this speaking to you about something that's going on in your life? It could be, you know, sometimes we do a job because it's expected of us, but how well do we relate to that job? Or how well is that job relating to us? How well are we relating to the people around us and the company culture, or whatever it is? Or how well are we relating to you know, the community that we live in? Or are we at all? Are we isolated? Are we, I mean, the fact that you've got the Ten of Wands, sorry, excuse me, it's like pushing this burden away. It's kind of whatever's been burdening you, it's coming to an end. And it could be either that then, you know, having a bit of breathing space, having completed whatever it is that's been bogging you down, gives you an opportunity to look at, you know, how well could be even be how well what your actions are relating to your path or your chosen path. You know, are you just going through some motions? You've got dreams, but you're not, you know, your actions are not relating to your dreams at all. You know, so I think for all of these, if you've got a bit of time out, you're doing some sort of reflection here, looking at where something was going really well for you, you're manifesting everything, what kind of space you were in at that time, how you can kind of bring some of that back that will help you move forward. And then I think you've got a great potential start here, giving yourself a bit of a breather and then clearing something away, looking at you know, what's going on in your life, how it's all relative. And I believe that will take you forward as we come out of the other side of the Mercury retrograde. So do let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. Bye.